Hello, this is Prophet 6, family prophet to the angel of the church to the Laodicean. May the Most High bless you this Sabbath in the name of Yeshua, his son. And I want to declare his name. His name is Ahiah, Ashah, Ahiah. That's what he told Moses over there in Exodus chapter 3. Now, what we're going to do is get into this Sabbath school lesson. You know, it's another white supremacy Sabbath school / Sunday school lesson. I mean, you know, I've been to churches that were Sunday keeping churches. And you know, one of the things I was shocked by, that the Sunday keeping churches basically are following the same type of lessons that the Sabbath keeping organizations are following. What I'm saying is that the Sunday school lessons, the topics are very similar to it's like they're both the same thing almost. Really, I'm serious. I was like kind of shocked when I visited a Sunday keeping church and I looked at their quarterly or whatever they call it, the Sabbath school lesson, Sunday school lesson, and I was shocked that I'm like, okay, that's what we're studying in the quarterlies in the Seventh-day Adventist church. Interesting. Well, duh, they all Christians. Duh, they both break the Sabbath. Yeah, Sunday keeping churches and Sabbath keeping churches break the Sabbath. Seventh-day Adventists are not really Sabbath keepers. I'm going to prove it to you. You want proof? Okay. When you are starting a job, let's say Monday morning, and they tell you what time your shift starts, right? Do you get to the shift after half of it is over? For instance, they say your shift starts at 12 o'clock and you don't get there till 4 o'clock. What's going to happen? Don't you get penalized for that? Yes. Don't you get a write-up for that? Yes. You don't call, you don't show. That's considered a no call, no show. Seventh-day Adventists, guess what they do? They don't have their divine service, divine worship until when? Half the Sabbath is over. Isn't that kind of odd? And these are the people that push the Sabbath hard. I'm going to tell you what kind of Sabbath they're pushing. They're pushing white Jesus Sabbath. White Jesus Sabbath is Caesar Borgia's Sabbath. Okay, who is Caesar Borgia? Go Google it. I ain't got time for all of that right now. Okay, the same person that is being worshipped on Sunday is the same person that's being worshipped with Seventh-day Adventists. You want proof? Okay, find any Seventh-day Adventist publication. Amazing Facts, Voice of Prophecy, Revelation Seminars, Daniel Seminars. The Ellen G. White books. Now, I don't believe that her books had pictures in them originally. But my point is to show you what the conference is pushing. You've all seen that Steps to Christ where they have the white Caesar Borgia like a giant standing at the United Nations building in New York City. Haven't you seen that? Well, that guy there is Caesar Borgia. He's a homosexual. He's a pedophile. He's a rapist, an assassin. As a matter of fact, the video game franchise called the Assassin's Creed, guess who it is? It's Caesar Borgia. Yeah, their family is featured in the video game. Now, I know I'm not on the Sabbath school lesson yet, but I like to give you just some little things. I know Christians, I get it. Christians don't care. They just care about the character of God. They don't care who he is though. They just care about his character, as if you can separate the two. Okay. All right. I digress. Because I know, because I got a message on my last Sabbath school lesson. The person said, I don't know what anything you had to do. I don't know what anything you said had to do with this, the Sabbath school lesson. And I quoted to him Matthew chapter 13, verse 13 through 15. Well, 15, I think down to like 18. They seeing, see not. They hearing, hear not. Neither do they understand. They having ears, but hear not. Meaning they don't understand anything. So this prophecy here, this Sabbath school lesson, lesson 4, is called Get Up and Walk. Faith and Healing. Faith and Healing. Okay, that's what we're going to jump into this topic. Now, I found it interesting. Now, if you are new to this channel and you're new to me, and by the way, I'm Prophet 6, Prophet Lewis, family prophet to the angel of the church to the Laodiceans. Leviticus chapter 13. I thought it was interesting because, see, I'll go to the Sabbath school lesson. I always know that the Sabbath school and the commentary in the Sabbath school, even the questions, are all structured around white homosexual Jesus, BKA, which means better known as Caesar Borgia. That's who he really is. And so, I really don't need to read through the whole lesson. I know what Christianity pushes. They push, and by the way, Caesar Borgia is the image of the beast. I didn't say mark of the beast. He is the image of the beast. And by the way, he's one of the image of the beast, and he's the main image of the beast. Okay? The Bible says it's the number of a man. Okay? Over there in Daniel chapter, Daniel chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar made a statue, and it was the image of a man, and everybody had to bow down to it. Wow. Guess who Christians are bowing down to? Caesar Borgia. That's their God. Caesar. It's a man. It's not. No, it is a man. It's a human being. The worst sorts. Okay. But anyway, so get up and walk. Faith of healing. Now, I found it interesting that in the reading for this week's study, I was looking at the scriptures. I reviewed the scriptures. Matthew chapter 8, Leviticus 13. I was kind of stunned to see Leviticus 13 there. Because Leviticus 13 deals with the protocols on how to deal with all types of leprosy. That's what Leviticus 13 primarily deals with. The treatment, the judgment, the diagnosis of leprosy. Okay? Leprosy. And by reading the chapter, Leviticus chapter 13, I get the impression that leprosy there are varying degrees and categories of what would be called leprosy. Now, let me say this. I'm not going to be able to really get into this leprosy like I would like to, but the Bible talks about clean lepers. It's something that Christians are not going to really talk about, but there's a thing called clean lepers. And let me see something here. Let me see something, because let's go to Leviticus chapter 13, because I really do want to get into this Leviticus chapter 13. Leviticus chapter 13. And let's see. Let's just read some of this. Granted, we may not be able to cover a lot, but I want to give you some meat in due season. Okay, I want to give you some things to investigate, and some of these things I don't have all the answers on. Some of these things I am myself, as a living prophet, I am even still investigating, and I'm weighing these things. Okay, in the Holy Ghost. Now, watch this. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, Verse 2, Leviticus 13:2. When a man shall have in his skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or bright spot. See, you can have either or, and or both of these symptoms. Scab or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like unto the plague of leprosy. Now let's hold back up. Let's back it up a little bit. Let's back it up a little bit. And what I'm going to do is look up the word leprosy, okay, in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. Let's look at this leprosy, and it just is the Hebrew pronunciation of it is called Basara'atha. Basara'atha. Okay? And it just simply means leprosy. That's the simple explanation. So we know what we're talking about. Then like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest. Now, Aaron the priest. So this is talking about only Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Or a person that is a citizen of Israel. You see what I'm saying? So this would be the equivalent. The priesthood would be the equivalent in our society of the Centers of Disease Control, the CDC. Okay? And it says, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons, the priest. You see, the priests, and all the priests were, guess what? Israelites, not a woman. Only the priests. You couldn't bring them to a woman. It was the priests. And the priest shall look, verse 3, and the priest shall look upon the plague in the skin of the flesh. And when the hair of the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. Now let's keep going on. I didn't want to really get into this deep, but let's keep going, because nobody in Sabbath school is going to touch this with a 10-foot pole in no Adventist church, okay? Especially online. If the spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath a plague 7 days. Okay? So now this is if the hair is not white. So this is a period where they have a wait and see period, okay? An extended diagnosis to see what is going on. So priests were men of great knowledge. They knew a lot about anatomy and physiology. They knew a lot about disease control. And I would even go further to say they knew how to treat certain diseases and to keep these people quarantined from the general population. Okay? Now, in Christianity, that is a construct of white supremacy and the papacy, you can come to church with any disease. You really can. It's no disease that you cannot come to church with, no matter how contaminating it is. What's the main doctrine of Christians? He accepts you as you are. Male or female, it don't matter what disease you got. You could come a cold, flu, meningitis, strep throat, anything, ringworms, chicken pox, measles. You can come to church. I've seen this happen. Menstrual, you're menstruating. Oh, you're menstruating? Oh, they'll make you a pastor. You can actually go up in the pulpit and preach. The Bible says the women are unclean when they're on their flower, as the Bible states it. No woman is. You think feminism? You think feminism is a construct of white supremacy, Caesar Borgia, Christianity, churchianity? A woman could be bleeding down her leg. It don't matter. Nothing is sacred. A couple could just have had sex and they'll go to church. Even when I did not know I was a Hebrew Israelite, the chosen people on earth, I knew that was wrong just by reading the Bible. You're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath. 24 hours or anywhere less than 24 hours before the Sabbath. All that's supposed to be done. You're supposed to go into the Sabbath clean. The Bible says that a man and a woman that have had sex, they're unclean until the evening. Or the next evening. Guess what Adventists think? A lot of Adventists think, not all, but the vast majority, they think that the Sabbath, the day that you're going to go to church and minister, feed people, that's the day you're supposed to have sex. That's the day you're supposed to have lay activities. He says 6 days shalt thou labor and do all that work. That's how you know another reason why Adventists don't believe in the Sabbath. Let's keep going. And the priest shall look upon him the seventh day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. Let's read that again. And the priest shall look upon him 7 days, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. You see? This is why Christians you're not under the law. Laws of sanitation and disease control is bondage? Because that's what they say. If you're under the law, you're under bondage. You're in bondage. And the priest shall look on him again the seventh day. And behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. For the 7 days that he's shut up, he's not allowed to come and teach Sabbath school, y'all. He's not allowed to come into the kitchen and prepare food for the fellowship dinner. He's shut up, quarantined off somewhere, y'all. He's quarantined. Because we don't know how to deal with diseases, this lets you know we don't know how to deal with sin. Sin in the Bible is equal to, in many ways, as a disease. Verse 6, and the priest shall look upon him again the seventh day, and behold, in the same people, in the same practices that Christianity and the Seventh-day Adventist Church actually promotes in bringing diseased people with diseased bodies to church. And diseased pastors, is the same handling and spirit they have with sin. And the priest shall look upon him again the seventh day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. Now this also is telling us that if the plague did not turn somewhat dark and it just stayed the same, he would have to be quarantined 7 days more for the same reason that he was quarantined the first and second time. There have to be a wait and see attitude to make sure the contaminant or possible contaminant does not spread. Verse 7. But if the scab spread much abroad, notice it says much abroad in the skin, after that he had been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. So this sounds like here, but if the scab spread much abroad in the skin after he had been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. So now he has to come back again because this scab now is spreading much abroad in the skin. Let's keep going. Verse 8. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. Wow. Wow. Hey y'all, you can't be coming to church with scabs and what kind of other things that you scurvies and breakouts and rashes. No, when you have a rash, you stay at home. Now some people are allergic to some dishwashing liquid and washing powders, certain washing powders and stuff like that. You don't go to church if you start breaking out. You see what I'm saying? If you have athlete's feet and it breaks out, you don't go to church. And it's draining, no, you don't do it. Now, I've done that before, but didn't know. Why? Because they don't teach this as an amazing fact. And when the plague of leprosy in the man, let's see, verse 8. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest. And the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white in the skin, it hath turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, or shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. So apparently, the shut up is for wait and see. Let's see what happens with this thing. Let's see how it progresses. But it says that you don't shut this guy up after you know it's an old leprosy. It says, for he is unclean. So it's definite, it's determined, so you don't have to shut him up. Verse 12. If a leprosy breaks out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy covered all the skin of him that hath the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean. That, you see, you heard that? Let's read that again. Leviticus 13:13. Then the priest shall consider, let's go back a little bit. Verse 12. And if the leprosy break abroad in the skin, tell me what this sounds like, y'all. Because see, we're reading leprosy here, leprosy here, leprosy here, but there are different manifestations, because we already read earlier in this chapter that some is going to appear with a scab, some with white hairs. But then look at this leprosy. And if a leprosy breaks abroad in the skin, and the leprosy covers all the skin. Another thing, you don't go to church with a cold sore, herpes zosters. No, any type of breakout, bleeding, hemorrhaging. No, you don't do that. You don't go there. Well, church you can go there, but if you with the Israelites, no, you don't do this, because the people that I'm reading, these laws that I'm reading right here in Leviticus 13, these laws were not written for Christians. This don't even apply to Christians. Actually, Christians do the opposite. They're actually supposed to do the opposite, because Christianity is anti-Mashiach. Yeah. Christianity is the opposition or mutation of what? Being an Israelite. It's a mutant faith. If a leprosy breaks abroad in the skin, verse 12, and the leprosy covers all the skin of him that hath the plague from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. You heard that? Listen. He shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. Wow, it's a plague. So here's a plague that you have that you get pronounced clean after it completely covers your body. Wow. You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like vitiligo. That's what it sounds like. This sounds like vitiligo. So you're not pronounced clean until what? It's covered you. Let's read it again. Then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. Now, obviously, from what we already read about the scab, and what we've already read about, let's go back up here. Leviticus 13. Let's go back up here. Leviticus 13. Let's look at verse let's look at verse 2, I think. When a man shall have in his skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh, the plague of leprosy. This is a plague, y'all. Then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest. You heard the three things? So there's three different manifestations of this leprosy. It says a scab is one, a bright spot, or rising. Okay, let's look and see what that rising is. I'm going to look that up in Hebrew. Okay, let's look that up. Let's look up what this rising is. An elevation of leprosy scab. Okay, this sounds more like to me already, because it's making a distinction between leprosy and scab. This looked like a pus, something filling with pus or something. You know what I'm saying? Not a blackhead, but some type of pus that's filling. figurative, elation or cheerfulness, exaltation. Wait, I'm on the wrong word. I accidentally moved my cursor. Rising. No, it says elation, cheerfulness, exaltation, rank of character. Well, it just means rising. Okay, so let's go back to this. Let's go back to verse 13. Now, this is a very long chapter, and the verses are pretty long, so we're not going to go through this. But I want to focus on 13:13. Leviticus 13:13. Then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean. Now, we already know what leprosy that this cannot be as a process of elimination. It can't be a rising, and it can't be a scab. So what can it be? It's going to have to be a bright spot, a whitening of the skin. Remember, those are the three characteristics that we see over in Leviticus 13:2, further up in the chapter, okay? So if this spot spreads, this sounds like vitiligo. You're not supposed to be coming to church with no vitiligo. If it has, when I say church, well, you can, Christians, that's what they do. But you can't come into the sanctuary, because that's what Israelites had. You can't come into the sanctuary if you have this. Okay? But if it has covered your whole skin, if this plague has covered your whole skin, guess what? And there's not a rising, and there's not a scab, then you're pronounced, this plague is pronounced what? The Bible says in verse 13, clean. Then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh. You see that? The entire body, all his flesh. He shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. That means from head to toe. It is all turned what? White. You see that? He is clean. It's still a plague, y'all. Now, what we're going to do now, I already got a hunch about what the word clean means. It's not contaminate. It's not contamination. Okay? It has run its full course, and now you're all white. You see that, y'all? Whiteness. You know what this means? This means that all Israelites were, guess what? As a rule, guess what they were? They were black people. Okay? Let's look at this. I want to see what this means in the word clean means. I mean, it probably say something like just clean or something. It says primitive root, properly to be bright. That is, by implication, to be pure. Okay? Tahar. Physically sound. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, this is a disease, right? This is the disease. And look what Strong says this clean means. Now, clean in this context, it would have to mean it's not contaminating anymore, okay? But anyway, we're going to go ahead. Let's look at verse 14. If the bright spot be white. See, let me tell you something, y'all. Whiteness. Now, I want to tell you what I believe Cain was. I believe Cain, I don't believe he was a leper. Well, I got to take that back. No, he wasn't born. I think he was born looking just like his brother, Abel. But the Lord made him white, not black. Not that narrative that the Roman Catholic Church and the Mormons put out and all that stuff. No, I believe he was made white. Now, it says, but because the Bible says that the Most High put a mark on him, that anybody that see him, okay, and the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the no, we supposed to be on 14. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 13. And let me tell you something biological, okay, that's been proven. And you can look this individual up on the internet. His name is called Keith Chang. I think his name is Keith Chang. Well, he's a biologist, okay? He's an Asian guy. And he says that Asians and Caucasians and anybody with white skin as a race of people, he said they are the mutants of black people. They are mutants to black people. And I was like, wow. And another thing that I learned that I just didn't know. All mutations are not cancerous, but all cancers are mutations. I didn't understand that nuance between the two words, cancer and mutations. So he says that all light skin, or white skin, not light skin, just light skin, but white skin, like Asians and Caucasians, he said they are the mutants of all the original people that were on earth. I mean, this is a biologist that said this, and this is a guy who studies zebrafish. Now, you can't get more black and white than that. And he proved this hypothesis in his study of zebrafish, and then researching human beings with white skin. So you want to know who the mutants are in the earth? Yeah, it's people with white skin. They are the mutants. And they are, I'm going to tell you this too, they are the cancers too. Now, let's look at this. But when raw flesh appeareth, verse 14, but when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. Now, if this white person's flesh start turning raw, guess what happens? He's unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean. It is a leprosy. You notice it's saying a leprosy. That lets you know that there are different types of leprosy, different categories of leprosy. It is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again and be changed into white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. He is clean. So in Leviticus 13:13, we see that if you have vitiligo, and if you're still in the process of changing, the color is changing, not until the complete color is changed totally white, without any scabs or raw flesh, then guess what? You are clean. In other words, it's not contaminating. Okay? So the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. He is clean. Now I could see with the way that Israelites act in the Bible towards people that were, lepers in leper colonies having scabs and stuff, I could see how they would even treat a person that's been declared even clean, but they have turned totally white because you stand out in a crowd of black people, and people would have some intrepidation about their daughter marrying you or marrying into your family. You see what I'm saying? And I could even see how Israelites, how wicked they were, because they were Israel after the flesh. And because of this, they would even persecute these people. It's just certain things that it would be like a social anathema or a social curse to have white skin. Okay? If you think about it, you'll be able to see this. Just read any of the Gospels and you'll be able to see this. And verse 18, and no flesh also in which even in the skin thereof is a boil and is healed. Well, let's go back up. And the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. He is clean. Verse 18, the flesh also in which even in the skin thereof was a boil. So we have scabs, we have a rising, which I think is kind of like a boil. And then you have a white spot that begins to appear. Okay. So it says here, a boil and is healed. And in the place of the boil, there be a white rising or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish. It is to be shown to the priest. And if when the priest seeth it, behold, it be in sight lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. When I hear read the plague of leprosy, I think a species of leprosy, a category of leprosy. That's what I'm hearing in my spirit. Broken out of a boil. Verse 21. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. You see? So let's listen to the play and the interchanging between the word leprosy and plague of leprosy. You see what I'm saying? Verse 23. But if the bright spot stay in his place and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth hath a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, it will be in sight deeper than the skin. It is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Therefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. Verse 26. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. So if you had some type of dark spot in you, you would be shut up. Look, dark spot, like a scab or something like that, you would be shut up to see what is going to happen. Verse 27. And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. Now I know most of y'all listening to this, if you're still listening, and haven't turned this video off, you're not used to this much scripture. You're not used to this much. Bear with me. Just pray, okay? And just bear with me. I don't think I'm going to read this whole chapter. 7th day. Then the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in his place and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a inflammation of the burning. Okay. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scald, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. Now, I want to say something about this, because a lot of my Hebrew Israelites brethren, they love to talk about this yellow hair. Now, I will say this. I will say this. Now, blonde hair, blue eyes, light eyes, white skin, all of that are mutations. Okay? All of it is mutations. Anybody with light hair, blonde hair, white hair, and they're young, blue eyes, green eyes, hazel eyes, you couldn't be a priest in Israel. Why? Because you had to be perfect. You couldn't have any physical defects. A mutation is a defect in the DNA, in the chromosomes. Okay? You couldn't be a priest. There never was a white priest. There never was a priest with no blue eyes. Never. Not in Israel. And if there was one, the only time it was when they were in idolatry. But I'm talking about officially that the Most High would have authorized. No, that couldn't have happened. And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in place and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising burning. We read that already. Verse 29. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold. Now listen very closely. If there be a plague upon the head or the beard, man or woman, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold it, examine it, and if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scald, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. So if this leprosy is on the head or the beard, and then you can see that it's deeper than the flesh, and then out of it's not a white hair this time, but there's a blonde hair. That's what a yellow hair is. A blonde hair. Then it's a leprosy. But remember, now Hebrew Israelites teach this. They teach if you have yellow hair, they teach that you're unclean. No. If you have a yellow hair, all your hair is yellow. And all your body is white or turns white because of vitiligo or something like that. Well, guess what? You're clean. We already read that already in Leviticus 13:13 and in 13:17. So we can't say that they are unclean. We can say that they do have a plague, and the plague is actually a mutation. Okay? Because that's what the scriptures say. So these Hebrew Israelites running around saying that all people with yellow hair is off. They're off. I'm reading the scriptures. If the priest look on the plague of the skull, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and there is no hair, black hair in it, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague of the skull 7 days. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the skull spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the skull be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave. Now, to make sure that we're not taking anything for granted, let's look and see what it means when it says skull, so we know exactly what's going on here. Okay, we want to know exactly what is going on here. That thing jumped on me. Now, Christians don't care nothing about disease. They don't care nothing about sin. Adventists don't care nothing about disease and sin and none of that stuff. They don't care. They don't care. If Adventists care more about disease and sin, guess what? The rate of heart disease among Adventists would be way lower. Diabetes, way lower. But we don't care nothing about disease. We don't contaminating disease or, any other type of disease. We don't care. They don't care. I'm not an Adventist. Okay. Let's see here. I forgot where I was at. Let me go up. I didn't get that far. A skull. That's what we want to look up here. A skull. Leviticus 13, 37. That's what we want to look up. Leviticus 13, 37. Okay. Skull. The word skull. Scuff. Okay, it says scuff. That don't tell me anything, really. So let me do something here. I want to look this word up. What's a skull? Definition: a scuff or scabby disorder as of the scalp. Okay, that gives me something. That's what it's a scuff, a scab. What is it called? Scowl is. Okay, 13. Scowl. Skull. Okay, so we got that down pat. What a skull is. Leviticus 13:37. But if the skull be in sight at a stay, and that there is black hair grown up therein, the skull is healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. 38. If a man also or a woman have in the skin of their flesh bright spots, even white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and behold, if the bright spots in the skin of their flesh be darkish white, it is a freckled spot that groweth in the skin. He is clean. You heard that, right? So people with freckles are clean. This also, however, is a mutation. Okay. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet he is clean. Okay. And he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head towards his face, he is forehead bald, yet is he clean. And if there be in the bald head or bald forehead a white reddish sore, it is a leprosy sprung up. It is a bald head. In his bald head or his bald forehead. Okay. Verse 43. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white reddish, or his bald head, or in his bald forehead. And remember, we're talking about black people. Okay. These are heavily melanated people that these things would be occurring in. All right. As a rule, verse 44, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean. Wow. Let's read that utterly. Why he's utterly unclean again. Verse 43. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white, reddish, in his bald head, or in his bald forehead, as the leprosy spreadeth in the skin of the flesh, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean. His plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry, unclean, unclean. Now I don't know what that's about. Putting a covering on his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. Verse 46. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean. He shall not dwell alone. He shall dwell alone. He shall dwell alone. Without the camp shall his habitation be. No, you cannot be coming up into the sanctuary, y'all. Whether it be in wrap or woof or linen or woolen, whether in skin or in anything made of skin. Oh, let's go. I skipped the verse. The garment also that the plague of leprosy is in, whether it be of a woolen garment or a linen garment, whether it be in the wrap or woof of linen or of woolen, whether in a skin or in anything made of skin. And if the plague be greenish or reddish in the garment or in the skin, either in the wrap or the wolf or in anything of skin, it is a plague of leprosy and shall be shown unto the priests. Okay. Verse 50. And the priest shall look upon the plague and shut it up, it that hath the plague 7 days, and he shall look on the plague on the 7th day. If the plague be spread in the garment, either in the wrap or in the wolf or in the skin or in any work that is made of skin, the plague is a fettering leprosy. It is unclean. He shall burn thereof. He shall therefore burn the garment, whether wrap or wolf or woolen or linen, or anything of skin, wherein the plague is, for it is a fretting leprosy, it shall be burnt in the fire. Now we see that here is a leprosy in fabric, leather, woolen, or linen. Okay? You got to watch this stuff. You just can't come to church with filthy garments on. Didn't we learn anything about Joshua? In the book of Joshua, it talks about the filthy garments. Lord, save us, Lord. Forgive us. Verse Leviticus 13:53. And if the priest shall look and behold the plague be not spread in the garment, either in the wrap or in the woof or anything of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing wherein the plague is, and he shall shut it up 7 days more. These priests were very intelligent, y'all. And the priest shall look on the plague after that it is washed, and behold, if the plague have not changed its color, and the plague be not spread, it is clean. Thou shalt burn it in the fire. It is a fret inward, whether it be bare within or without. And then we have here. So we basically read the whole chapter. We basically read the whole chapter, save 3 verses. So I just want to let you all know. Just want to let you all know that there are things that you just can't do in the sanctuary. Where in the sanctuary? Now, in the Christian church, you could do anything. You could have sex and run straight to the church and be sitting up in Sabbath school. You know, dirty, unclean. The Bible tells us how to have sex around the Sabbath. It's just certain things that you're not supposed to be doing. Okay? Now, I want to look at Daniel 7:7. Now, I might not cover too much more. But, boy, I can't resist this. Daniel 7:7. I can't resist this, y'all. Look at this, y'all. Daniel 7:7. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts. Hold on a second. Let me get that in this Bible here. I don't want to read it on screen. Okay. Stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Wow. Now watch this, y'all. This beast right here with the 10 horns, okay? And it's a composite of all the other beasts that were before it. And then the Bible's making a distinction. This beast is different than all the other beasts before. Look what it says. Many people call this the undescript beast. This beast right here, it represents all the European nations. You know that? And the allies of those European nations. Yeah. So the worst beast, the most unnatural beast that's seen in the Bible, represents Europeans. Okay, Caucasians. Yeah, Caucasians. They're the worst of all the beasts. Okay, what beast? Egypt. Well, Egypt is not portrayed as a beast. It is a civilization that held captive Israel, though, however. But it's different from Egypt. I would have to think what Egypt would be represented as a beast in the Bible. I'm not going to be quick to say that it doesn't. Okay? So you got Egypt, Babylon. You got Medo-Persia, Rome. You got Greece. You got Grecia, Rome, pagan Rome, and ecclesiastical Rome. Now, not until you get into the Greeks. It's the Greeks that actually spawned all these other horns, y'all. Greeks. These are some other Caucasians, y'all. pagan Rome, ecclesiastical Rome, in the modern world that we have today. And then when you go over to the book of Revelation, all the beasts in the book of Revelation, they represent the European nations that are spawned by the great red dragon. These are all nations. So that's basically what I wanted to bring home about Daniel chapter 7. Why is it that not one nation, after the nondescript beasts, are nations of color? Why are they all Caucasian? Why is it that the woman in Revelation chapter 17 is riding on a scarlet colored beast? Which is basically a progression of the same beast that we see in Daniel chapter 7 verse 7. Wow. Daniel saw the same thing. John saw the same thing that Daniel saw. Wow. Now Daniel didn't see everything that John saw, but Daniel saw everything that in his vision that Daniel saw. Wow. So again, I'm going to close right there. Now you might say, okay, all you dealt with Leviticus 13:13. Let me tell you something. You ain't never dealt with Leviticus 13:13. Not no Sabbath school class. Nobody in no Sabbath school class gonna deal with no Leviticus 13:13. I've been sitting in Sabbath school class for over 30, probably 35 years, and nobody never dealt with no Leviticus 13. Most of these people that sit up in these Sabbath school classes and teach, they don't know nothing about the Bible. They don't know God. Most of the people that's teaching are demons. I mean, look how these Sabbath school teachers, look how these Sabbath school teachers are selected. When they can't find nobody to teach the Sabbath school class, guess what they do? They go find the dumbest person that comes to church and may pay tithes, return a tithe, and they'll say, okay, you got to get up there. And they thrust them up there and they like, oh boy, I don't know nothing about the Bible. I don't know nothing about God. I'm not really even interested in this. And they get up there and start teaching. I can't tell you how many Sabbath school teachers like that I've set up under. And then you have those that think they're scholars. But anyway, I hope you got a blessing out of this, y'all. White skin is not leprosy. Okay? I think white skin is the mark of Cain. That's what that is. Now, vitiligo, that's a form of leprosy. But after it has covered your whole body, you can be declared clean by the priests. Only Levite priests. Okay? Christianity, and Seventh-day Adventism, I mean, this is just a way to make sure that Israel, that the Most High don't gather the 12 tribes of Israel. That's what Christianity is there for. That's why they teach replacement theology. That's what replacement theology and spiritual Israel. I want to tell you what spiritual Israel is again. Spiritual Israel are Israelites who are born again. That's Bible. John 3:3. Yeah. That's the only spiritual Israelite that you can concoct in the Bible. Why? How is that? Because those that are born again, guess what they're going to do? They're going to keep the law. What does the Bible say about the law? The law is what? Spiritual. That's the source of spirituality for any Israelite and non-Israelite. So I'm going to leave you with that. I stayed up really, really late, 2 o'clock in the morning to do this. So, y'all just study, y'all. Go over this Leviticus 13:13. The original people that Adam and Eve, they were black people, y'all. I know Ellen G. White says ruddy and all of this kind of stuff. But what does melanin? Melanin. They were melanated. Based on what she knew, yeah, she thought it was she thought what she believed and what she thought and knew to be true. Okay? But anyway, I'm going to close there. May the Most High bless you. And this is Prophet 6, Family Prophet to the Angel of the Church to the Laodicean. Please leave your comments. Share this video. Please give a reply. Yay or nay, whatever. It don't matter. You know, this keeps me on my toes and keeps me studying and able to answer questions and to give an answer to the faith that is within me. All right, I'm out of here.